Are you paying too much in taxes? Elevated Tax and Accounting is a firm that specializes in tax planning and strategy to minimize your tax bill. Elevated Tax consult with you on tax strategy throughout the year, so no more waiting until the end of the year and hoping for the best. As a business owner, you know your sole focus should be spent working on your business, not in it. Outsourcing gives you the time to concentrate on the core reasons you started your company, to create and innovate a top-tier product and generate profits. Elevated Tax and Accounting, elevating you and your business with a modern professional touch.
Driving along on the highway and you've been hit by a semi-truck. Now what do? You call your Montana attorneys, Ryan and Miller. We have the expertise to help guide you along in these specific types of accidents. So these are the 3 steps that you need to follow. Number 1, make sure that the police are called and that there is a report of the accident. Second, make sure that you're getting the medical attention that you need and following up with your doctor. Third, do not talk to an insurance company until you've talked to an attorney. They are not going to help you protect your rights, and you want to make sure that you know all that you're entitled to. Contact an attorney today by clicking the link below.
Time for our Montana State Minute, but we're checking in with a former Montana State Bobcat. He is now a member of the St. Louis Battlehawks of the UFL. Callahan O'Reilly joining us here on Nuanez now. Cal, what's up, man? Haven't talked to you in a little while. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Still playing football, so I can't complain. But it's good to hear from you. It's been a while.
Yeah, take us through the journey, because you had a great last couple years at Montana State, a couple all-conference nods for you, and then you had a great pro day, and then it was kind of like a hurry up and wait, and then you got this opportunity. I know you had to battle through some stuff, but now here you are, and you're playing, you're thriving. So just take us through these last couple years for you from a football perspective.
Yeah, it's been a journey for sure. My last few years at Montana State, I wasn't even sure that, playing pro was something that I wanted to do. And then, I was fortunate enough to have a few good seasons and wanted to give it a shot. And, like you said, I thought I had a great pro day and thought I earned an opportunity to play. I had a, little short mini camp with the Bears, which, it was short. And then after that, I got a call from the GM of the St. Louis team, Dave Buller, and he invited me down to this XFL combine in July after my pro day and all that stuff. I went down there, ran some drills, got signed / drafted by the team or whatever, and then played in 2 games last season. Was off to a hot start before a season-ending injury, and then rehab from that, and I'm back this season. Been healthy for the 7 games we've played now, and it's been going good. So.
What was the tipping point for you that made you realize, hey, I do want to keep playing football? Like when you're, because it is hard to sort of make a decision, right? Which way you're going to go. But when your senior year wraps up and then you decide to make a run at it, what was the factors that went into that decision?
Yeah, for me, I think I really decided that I wanted to, play in like that spring after my junior year, when I saw guys like Troy and Lance and Lewis and, all my friends, getting their shot in the NFL. And I was like, wow, I think, I can really do this. And, I started to hear from some agents and had some interest through my senior year. And I was like, this is something that I've dreamed of since I was a kid. And I couldn't imagine, just walking away without, giving it a shot. So.
What's it been like being on sort of the forefront of like a fledgling league? I mean, there's been a lot of transitions too, right? You mentioned the XFL turning into the UFL with the merger with the USFL. What's that been like, to sort of having both the uncertainty but also the excitement of being part of something that's sort of brand new?
Yeah, it's been interesting for sure. Like you mentioned, when I first signed, they were the XFL, and then I started hearing about this merger, and I wasn't even sure if there was going to be a league, if there wasn't going to be a league, and then it turned into the UFL. And I mean, it has its ups and downs, but I think that it's been really awesome for me. It's an opportunity to play football, and it's an opportunity for every guy in our league to play football. And it gives us the opportunity to do it in America without having to go to Canada and deal with the things like that. And then it's also been a good situation for a lot of guys as far as getting NFL shots. It has that timeline, and that's kind of, what it's positioning guys in this league for. So ultimately, it's a chance to play football, and it gives everyone in this league an opportunity to. And, that's how I see it. It's football at the end of the day. It's a chance to get more film and a chance to keep playing the game.
Callahan O'Reilly here on Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television and the ESPN MT app. He's a former Montana State Bobcat who's now making his way in the UFL at the St. Louis Battlehawks. They're off to a 5-2 start so far this season. So tell us just about the level of competition. I mean, what have you thought of it, and maybe how did it compare to what you thought maybe you were getting into when you first got there?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect coming in. I knew that there was a lot of good players, a lot of guys who had been in the NFL and whatnot. But really, it's been the competition's been better than even what I anticipated. Really, what you don't understand is a lot of these guys were 2, 3 year NFL vets, who got cut, and this is their opportunity to try to make the bounce back. It's a lot. You see a lot more of that than you see guys like me who didn't quite make it right out of college and they're trying to work their way up. So there's a lot of guys with a lot of good experience. Obviously, a lot of like even Power Four, all conference, all American type players, who just had that injury or something didn't go right and it knocked them down into this league versus being in the NFL. So a lot of really good athletes, good football, and it's made me a lot better just playing against these guys every week.
A familiar name for people that follow college football too. Starting quarterback there in St. Louis is Max Duggan, who is a great player at TCU, led them on a great run. So he's been a key factor for you guys the last couple of weeks. What have you thought of just playing with him?
Yeah, he's been good. Coming in, they had the quarterback competition. I was excited about all our quarterbacks, and then Manny ended up winning the job. He was a guy who played at ASU, and then for the Packers a little bit, he got hurt. Max came in, and he's been good. We've won our last 3 games, so the first 2 games he kind of had to settle in a little bit, but since then, we've been able to win. We've been able to score when we need to. He's a good threat running and throwing, which is I think pretty big in this league because just that extra element of the QB run. Like the defenses are really good, and if you can just break off a few big ones a game, it makes a big difference.
A couple other FCS guys on the roster. So have you shared some FCS war stories with some of those guys?
Yeah, there is a few FCS. I mean, I think a lot of the FCS guys take pride in being from the FCS and stuff. Because a lot of the bigger school guys, I mean, they'll be like, "Oh, where'd you play? Like, never even heard of it." But I think we all understand each other, and we're all proud of where we came from. There's D tackle Isaiah Mack. He had a great game last week. He's from Chattanooga. Our running back Jacob Sailor's Eastern Tennessee State guy. So we got a few FCS guys on the roster.
Big Stat Breakdown, proudly presented by the Bobcat Collective at Montana State. The Bobcat Collective is the NIL collective that serves Montana State University student athletes. The collective has partnered with Montana State to connect fans, alumni, businesses, and local nonprofits with Montana State student athletes. Opportunities through the collective allow student athletes to earn compensation while serving the greater Montana State University community. Sign up now for memberships and enjoy automatic entry into raffles for free tickets while supporting the bright minds at Montana State. They have multiple different membership tiers, and you can also be a one-time supporter, and you can also business partner or corporate supporter. Visit bobcatcollective.com for more.
Aspen Sound here in Missoula, Montana. Being in this industry since I was in college, one of the things I think we take the most pride in is Aspen Sound's been such a presence in Missoula for almost 40 years. The cool parts about our job is people always ask us what we do for a living. I saw fun, whether it's as simple as window tint all the way up to integrating a backup camera into a factory screen. I'm pretty excited about the options we can present.
That element to sort of carry in the FCS flag, I know that's probably something you take a lot of pride in.
Yeah, I definitely do because I think some guys understand it and some guys don't. It's
Sure,
just like
right.
anything. Like guys who are in certain areas of the country who've seen like played against some of the better teams and whatnot understand it, and then guys who grew up more in it, maybe the South and the SEC was all they knew. They don't really understand it, but a lot of guys do understand that there's a lot of great players that come from it, and you just you want to represent where you came from well.
Well, you mentioned you got a short opportunity there with the Bears, and then have been playing pro football these last 2 years. What's been the biggest challenge for you? Like, what are some of the things you've had to change about your game or elevate your game in to sort of play at that level?
Um, it's hard to say. I think the biggest challenge is just this. speed and physicality of the guys. It comes down to a lot more technique. I mean, in the FCS, I mean, you're able to get away a little bit more with, being one of the top athletes on the field, and you can just, throw a blocker off you. Whereas if you try to use that same technique here, they might pin you inside. So it's just, adding those extra technique to where you can beat someone with the same level of athleticism through technique is really what I'd say.
When it comes to your time at Montana State, you played with a lot of great players there, and you mentioned sort of guys that a year ahead of you that sort of showed you the path, the way you can pursue these pro dreams. What sort of things did you take, though? I mean, what sort of ways do you think that playing at Montana State prepared you for the next level?
I think the coaching at Montana State's phenomenal. I mentioned that, I had an interview with Austin last year, and I kind of, tipped my hat to Coach Daly and just, all the defensive coordinators I had at Montana State, the way that they teach cover 3, the way they teach cover 4, the techniques they teach, it's carries over to the pro level. And I think even if you ask guys like Troy and Ty and those guys, they would say the same thing, I think that's one thing that helped me in both the training camps I've been in as far as just making the team is day one install. You get cover 3, you get cover 4. Some guys don't, like, they're trying to learn that on top of playing fast and then learning the intricacies of our defense versus maybe what they played in. Whereas, we play a really sound style of defense at Montana State. So the coaching there, I'm really thankful for.
Yeah, pretty cool to think of just the linebacker tutelage that Bobby Daly's been able to have in his young career. I mean, yourself, Troy, Caden Ellis, who's starting inside linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons from Idaho. So he's definitely teaching it at a high level. And you're in Texas right now. He's in El Paso now. Maybe he makes it up to a Battlehawks game.
Yeah, I actually checked. I think El Paso is pretty far
Yeah,
west of us. I think
probably.
it's like 9 hours, but
Yeah,
I did reach out to him and talk to him a little bit when he got
nice.
that job there. I was pretty excited for him. So yeah, he's a great coach, great guy, and I'm excited to see what he does there. So that'll be
Yeah.
awesome.
Do you still follow the Cats from abroad?
Oh yeah, I always do. Of course, I was following a lot last year with McCade and everything, and then
Totally.
I went to most of the games, so
Oh yeah, right.
it was great. Just because I really wanted to be in Bozeman, to go to all McCade's games and stuff, just because it was fun. And
Yeah, I guess the timing works out well with the seasons being at different times. That's pretty.
yeah, it does. It's interesting. We don't really have. That's one thing about this league is you don't have an off-season program. You have
Right,
your 3 months you're here, and then everything's on your own. So.
right. Well, what'd you think of your baby bro's senior year? I pretty good. First team all conference.
Yeah, no, I was super happy for him. He worked a long time for that, so I was pretty stoked for him.
Well, definitely. What have you thought of just the way that they've been able to sustain it? You guys had great years, your junior and senior years, winning the Big Sky your senior year, but they went and won the Big Sky again last year. So, what have you thought of just sort of the sustainability of the Montana State program?
Yeah, it's been awesome, and it makes it fun as a ex-player to be able to go back and watch them continue to win games, and you can keep talking about Montana State as they are the top of the FCS, and I'm sure they'll continue to do that. It's just the coaching and recruiting, the facilities, the way the communities came around the team. It'll be like I think the odds are stacked in their favor to continue to do that. So.
Cashwan Pawn has the most extensive inventory of any pawn shop in western Montana. Whether you're in the market for firearms, power tools, bows, video game consoles, or sunglasses, Cashwan Pawn has the best deals around. And now Cashwan Pawn gives you the ability to shop online from anywhere. Make CashOnePawn.com part of your shopping habits. Also make sure to download the Cashwan Pawn app. Cashwan Pawn, Missoula's premier pawn shop, located on Roller Coaster Road on the way to the Y. Callahan O'Reilly here on Nuanez Now. It's our Montana State Minute. He's a former Montana State linebacker who's now playing for the St. Louis Battlehawks of the UFL. You mentioned it. You're on a 3-game winning streak right now. So how do you keep it going? Kind of coming down the stretch of the regular season here. So what's out in front of you for both individually and as a team here the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think, our whole team, our goal, our coaches preach since day one is we want to win a championship, and I think we're on the right path here. And as long as, we keep playing well, our defense has been playing great. And, that's kind of one interesting thing about this league is you have a 3-week training camp. You have no off season. You're bringing in 25 new guys at the start of every year. So I think, to be able to have 3 games in a row towards the end of the season here gives a lot of momentum rolling towards the playoffs, to be able to finish out the season and win the championship. And then, for me, my goal is to keep taking advantage of my opportunities, put the best stuff I can on film. That's your film's your resume, and people out there are watching it, and, play well enough to give myself an opportunity come this fall. So
We'll keep on going. Really fun to follow you, and thanks for taking a minute today.
Yeah, appreciate it, Colter, as always.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Town